Assalamu alaikum, family. This is Ryan X coming to you live. Hope that you all are having a blessed and wonderful day. Hope that you all are doing well. Hope that you all have a blessed and wonderful weekend as well. This is the day that Allah God has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Despite the weather that we have now here on the West Coast, it's cold and rainy. I know in many parts of the country the weather is not too good. It's rainy and still, we're experiencing winter, at least the last, month of winter, so to speak. But in all things, we give Allah thanks and praise. For all praises are due to Allah God. The likelihood that you're having one of those days, always remember this. Tough times don't last, tough people do. Keep your hope, trust, and faith in Allah God, and He will see you through. I could definitely bear witness to that. So this morning, um, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, well, late last night, early this morning, about two something this morning, my time out here, the Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away at the age of 84. May Allah be pleased with our dear brother. I know for the last few years he had been suffering health issues, I believe Parkinson's. He had uh, nerve issues, damage, whatever, muscular issues. He was in a wheelchair for the last few years, and get up in age. Man was in this, 84 years old, so he was getting up there. And we weren't meant to stay here. We all have to be returned to Allah. From Allah we come, from Allah we return. So we weren't meant to stay here forever. But may Allah be pleased with our dear brother, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Um, he's done a lot. One thing I could say about him, he loved the black community. Salute, brother Iron Will. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. Um, he loved the community, the black community. I didn't agree with most of his politics the older I got, because I realized, that he was on that Democratic ticket, with the Clintons, the Obamas, uh, the John Kerry's, that those sorts. Interesting. I'm no fan of Jesse Jackson. In my opinion, he has something to do with Dr. King's assassination. But I will say, God rest his soul. Well, yeah, there are a lot of people who say that they who feel that way, who feel that the Reverend Jesse Jackson has something to do with Dr. King's assassination. Um, that hasn't been proven, um, so we don't know. We don't know. It does look. I can see where people could draw that conclusion, but just because we think that they're just because we think they're conclusions, um, there's no real concrete proof. Read an Act of State by William Pepper. I heard of that book. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. But I will say this: the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a good judge of character, and if Jesse was, if Reverend Jackson was a stool pigeon or a snitch, then he would have figured that out. He would have known about it. He wouldn't have had him speak. He wouldn't have supported him in '84, and I'm going to get into that here in a second. He wouldn't have supported him in this run for president in '84, and he wouldn't have allowed him to speak at the Million Man March in '95. So I'm gonna go with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on this one. You know, um, we're taught in the nation. He's our guide, he's our leader, he's our teacher. We know, and we follow his example. You know, Elijah Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he departed from us, not died, he departed. So he gave us the honorable minister was Farrakhan, and we follow his guidance. So if he was good with Jesse Jack with with Reverend Jackson while he was here, then I'm good with him. Yes, there are things I disagree with him on, and many of us in the nation disagree with him on, but I can't say that that man. I can't say that because I don't have any proof. I mean, yeah, I understand, and I could understand, I could see how people could come to that conclusion. But if the minister was good with him and loved him as a brother, and protect and was willing to give his life and a protection for his family, then who am I? Who am I to say anything different? I follow the honorable minister Louis Farrakhan, our God and our teacher, us in the nation. But hey, much respect, brother, much respect. But before I go any further, hit that thumbs up button, smash the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button so you get notifications whenever I do videos on here. So as a child, I should say, little boy, I was a fan of Jesse Jackson. It was the first time I saw a black man run. Say he's going to run for president of the United States, and this was in 1984. I was 8 years old. I'll never forget it. And this is where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came to the forefront. Jesse Jackson told the minister, "You're doing great things. You're doing great work, but I'm paraphrasing, but you're doing a disservice because you won't speak to the media." And so the minister thought about it. He said, "You know what? It's time. It's time to speak to the media." He had been, silent for 7 years, but he came out and spoke to the media. He also registered to vote, and he registered to vote for Reverend Jesse Jackson in 1984. I'm gonna go before that. So in the 60s, we know Jesse Jackson was part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Um, he marched with Dr. King, worked with Dr. King, and he was establishing himself in the movement, the civil rights movement in the 1960s. So we give much respect to him on that. Um, he graduated from North Carolina A&T, HBCU, where he was a quarterback of the football team. So, he was an athletic brother, played quarterback, North Carolina A&T back in the 50s and early 60s. But he was one of our great pioneers. Like I said, I didn't agree with his politics the older I became, but I respected him. I will say this. Uh, I saw a video with the late Hosea Williams, about the 1968 assassination of Dr. King, and where he said that Jesse Jackson smeared blood on his shirt of blood of Dr. King to make it seem like he was there. Again, you know, um, that very well may be true. I wasn't there. None of us was there in '68. But I'm not doing this video to bash Reverend Jackson. Um, I will point out things that I disagree with him on, but I'm not going to just bash this man's character. Now it's not the time for that. We people could get into that if they want to, and we do that a lot. We do that a lot as black people. People who we don't like, we bash them in death. I will always talk. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Um, I'm not gonna bash them. The enemy does that. I'm not gonna support white supremacy with bashing another black man. I'm not gonna do that. Even though I vehemently disagree with Reverend Jackson on a lot of his politics, the older I became, I'm not going. I'm not going to defend I'm not going to uphold white supremacy by bashing this man. I'm not going to do it. So, with that being said, um, 84, he runs for president, and I saw that, and I remember my parents talking about it. I was 8 years old, I remember them talking about it, and it made me proud to be black. And then to see a brother with a suit on, a black suit, a white dress shirt, and a black bow tie, clean cut, very articulate. I'm speaking of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan defending Reverend Jackson. Two black men. Oh my God. I was strutting around like a peacock as an 8-year-old. I was like, look at these two black men. Look at them. I had never seen nothing like that to that point in my life. It just it made me it made me proud to be black. I know that may sound crazy, but I had never seen that as an 8-year-old. Two powerful black men. And when the Jews, those of us who are old enough to remember, the Jews came out and they threatened Reverend Jackson. They threatened to kill him and his family. Keep it now, listen to me carefully. The Jews threatened to kill Reverend Jackson and his family. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had the Fruit of Islam, the FOI, protect Reverend Jackson and his family. Am I right or am I absolutely right? He had the FOI protect this black man and his family against the Jews. Black people were saying, run, Jesse, run. The Jews were saying, ruin, Jesse, ruin. And then now check this out. Now, Minister Farrakhan sent the Fruit of Islam, the male army, the security branch of the Nation of Islam, full of powerful black men, the FOI. He sent them, gave them an assignment to guard Reverend Jackson and his family. The Jews then turned their attention to Minister Farrakhan. And Minister Farrakhan, they wanted him dead too. They called for the death of the minister. That's right. They called for the death of the minister. Not only Reverend Jackson, but the minister as well. Because he was defending a black man and his family. So with that, I will always, always, always have love and respect for the minister. Even, it's so many things I could, oh my gosh, wow. That was a powerful moment for me as an 8-year-old watching this. Y'all don't, most 8-year-olds, they like to play with toys. In my generation, they like to play with their toys, play the Atari 2600. You know, I'm dating my age. Go outside, ride our bikes, play stickball. That's what we like to do. That's what we did back then as 8-year-olds. We loved to go outside and play with our friends. But I saw this, and I thank my parents and my grandmother. May Allah be pleased with my father. May Allah be pleased with my grandmother. I thank them for exposing me to this by watching the news, watching Nightline. We know the media, the most effective devil in America. But one thing about I could say in the early 80s, the media wasn't like how the media is now. They reported the news and the facts. They were unbiased for the most part back then. Now it's who could tell the story first, and they don't care about the truth. Back then they did, more so than they do now. But my grandmother exposed me to that by watching Nightline. And I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan being on there with Ted Koppel, and he answering Ted Koppel's questions, and he just firing, bam, bam, bam. I'm like, look at this black man. Look at this black man here. And Reverend Jackson campaigning around the country in the 80s, a turbulent time in this country. Reagan was president. This was before crack was introduced to the black community. Well, it was kind of sort of in 84, but it really ramped up in 85, 86, 87. But there were little droplets of it in 84. But Reverend Jackson was standing tall and he was running and he was campaigning around this country, in the South, on the West Coast, in the Midwest, on the East Coast, unapologetically black. And the minister was by his side. That was a great moment for me as an 8-year-old. I can't stress that enough. And the Jews hated it. They hated it. I'll never forget. Jesse Jackson unfortunately referred to New York as Jaime Town. Jaime is a slur against the Jews. He apologized for it, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The Jews wanted him dead. They wanted his family dead. If I'm not mistaken, they firebombed one of Jesse Jackson's headquarters. If I'm not mistaken. But we're the haters. We're the haters. The minister's a hater. Is a race baiter. Reverend Jackson is a race baiter, a hater. Really. But y'all firebombed this man's headquarters. Firebombed him. What if his family was in there? What if he was in there? What if those who worked for his campaign was in there? What if their children were in there? They didn't think about that. All they wanted to do was, we want this nigger dead. We want him dead now. So for that alone, I respect Reverend Jackson. Again, I didn't agree with everything regarding his politics or, what's what have you. But for that alone, surviving that and having the courage to not be scared and to run for president of these United States of America at that time, he has my respect. He always did. So we go on to 1988. Reverend Jackson runs again for the second time around. Now his second time, he's more successful than his first time. Again, I'm 12 years old in 1988. Doug Williams had won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins against the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 22 in San Diego. Never forget it. And I remember going to school, strutting around like a peacock. The black quarterback beat John Elway 42-10. He the best quarterback in the NFL. I was telling these white boys that in school, in middle school, they were so mad. The 80s was if you were a black child growing up in the 80s from my generation, y'all know what I'm speaking about. Racism was bad. It's bad now. I'm not saying things have gotten better. But racism was at an all-time high in the 1980s from my generation. It was in your face. It was in your face. You hear me? And it wasn't just the South. This was in Detroit, Michigan. I went to a predominantly white, all-white Baptist school. I was in middle school, being called nigger every day, porch monkey, this and that, ape, gorilla baby, and nigger with the hard ER, nigger, monkey boy, all of this on a daily basis. So when I saw Doug Williams win the Super Bowl, it touched me as a 12-year-old, 11 going on 12-year-old. Because back then the Super Bowl was played the last Sunday in January. So it was 3 weeks before my 12th birthday. I could not wait to go to school the next day. You hear me? I could not wait. And rub it in those crackers' faces. I loved it. I got so sick and tired of hearing about Larry Bird, Roger Clemens, uh, it's John Elway. It got to the point that I cannot stand, to this day, I cannot stand John Elway or Larry Bird or Roger Clemens. I respect them, respect their talent, but I just cannot stand them because white people, that's all, well, Larry Bird, well, Roger Clemens, well, John Elway. It just drove me nuts. So when I saw Doug Williams win the Super Bowl, it did something to me. It was a proud moment for me. I know I'm digressing from this video from Reverend Jackson, but I'm coming back to him. So that made me feel proud. Then when we found out that Reverend Jackson was running for president again in 1988, I was even prouder. I'm like, we had a black quarterback win a Super Bowl, and we're gonna have a black president too. Bliggity, bliggity, blackety, blackety. Not to mention, Public Enemy and KRS-One was telling us about our greatness about being black. Now this is 1988, 38 years ago. I'm 12 years old. I'm looking at this. I'm listening to hip hop. I'm hearing Public Enemy talk about the government, talk about how great black people are. KRS-One with Boogie Down Productions, telling them how great black people are. Professor Griff. I'm listening to all this. I'm seeing Jesse Jackson standing proud, going around the country. And if I'm not mistaken, he won the state of Michigan. Black people saying, run, Jesse, run again in 88. Wearing Jesse Jackson 88 sweatshirts and t-shirts. Jesse Jackson all on the news. Also, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan all on the news. I'm seeing the brothers, the FOI, around the city of Detroit. Oh my, y'all don't know how much that meant to me as a 12-year-old. So I'm seeing all these great things about black people. Black men standing up. It just did something to me. So for that, I have respect for Reverend Jackson. I will say this: Reverend Jackson paved the way for a Barack Obama to become president in 2008. He paved the way for Kamala Harris to run for president last year, or 2 years ago, excuse me. He paved the way. He paved the way for a lot of blacks in politics. Blacks seeking the Senate. Even running for president. Al Sharpton ran for president in 2004. Jesse Jackson paved the way for him. Herman Cain, even though he's a Republican, the late Herman Cain, may Allah be pleased with him, ran as a Republican. But Jesse Jackson paved the way for him. Some say it was Shirley Chisholm in 72. Yeah, that sister was powerful. May Allah be pleased with her. The late Shirley Chisholm out of New York. She ran in 72. So you can say she paved the way for Jesse Jackson. Jesse ran, but Reverend Jackson ran twice, 84 and 88. Although he did not win in 88, Dukakis won. Well, Walter Mondale won for the Democrats in 84. Walter Mondale and his vice president was Geraldine Ferraro, an Italian woman named Geraldine Ferraro. Walter Mondale, yeah. He won a Democratic nomination in 84. In 88, it was Michael Dukakis from Massachusetts. He won the Democratic nomination then. But even though Reverend Jackson didn't win in 84, 88, it still was a profound moment for our people, for our community. And it did something to me. And then you months after running in '88, he's on A Different World, one of my favorite TV shows, giving inspiration to Kadeem Hardison, Kadeem Hardison's character, Dwayne Wayne, about running for class president of Hillman College. Dwayne he was discouraged. He wasn't getting the votes. He felt like he wasn't getting support. The only one that supported him was Ron, his best friend. But Jesse Jackson told him to hang in there and encouraged him. And again, even though this was a sitcom, and it wasn't, and it, but it did something to me. As a 12-year-old, 13-year-old watching this, I'm like, you know what? He's encouraging him on this show, but he's actually encouraging me. Don't give up. Stand the fight. So what if people don't stick by you? Stay in the fight. Stick with it. So that did something to me. So, wow. Man, I'll be pleased with Reverend Jackson. Give me a moment. That really touched me. But so like I said, he really cared about our community, about Black people. Now my quorum suggested with Reverend Jackson is he started coining the term African American. He went from Black to African American. He went from being a Black activist to being African American, changing his stance on abortion. Even though he wrote a literary piece about abortion in 1977, I found that out this morning. It's a great piece of work. He wrote a literary piece in 1977 against abortion. Great piece of work. But then he shifted. He changed gears. He did the what Democrats do. Instead of being for civil rights of Black people, he was beguiled to do it for everybody. African American. He started supporting the LGBTQ agenda. All other agendas he started supporting. And started just speaking a Democratic language. Why we should vote for the Democrats. And I just couldn't rock with that. I'm like, I respect you, Reverend Jackson. I respect what you did for our people, but I can't respect that. I'm sorry, I can't agree with that. I cannot go along with that. You want to include everybody. You supporting the Clintons, the Obamas, and their agenda, the Democratic agenda. I can't get with that. Much respect, but I just don't agree with that. What I will say is this. In 1999, there were 3 U.S. service members. I'm going to say their names. Give me 1 second here. Hit that thumbs up button, smash that thumbs up button now. Hit that subscribe button so you get notifications whenever I do videos on here. 3 U.S. Army soldiers, Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez, Staff Sergeant Christopher Stone, and Specialist Stephen Gonzalez, were captured on March 31st, 1999, near the Macedonia-Kosovo border while on routine patrol. I remember this because I was in the military at the time. I was stationed in Panama. This was March 1999. I was stationed in Panama then. The 3 soldiers were held in a Belgrade prison where they were initially interrogated, bound, and blindfolded, experiencing 32 days of detention. Reverend Jackson led a delegation of U.S. religious leaders to Belgrade on a humanitarian mission to negotiate with Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic. The trip was not authorized by the White House. So Reverend Jackson did the job that then President Bill Clinton would not do. He went over to Belgrade and negotiated the safeguarding of these 3 U.S. service members. He negotiated with a terrorist, which is what America does. He negotiated with a terrorist leader, dictator, for the safeguarding of 3 U.S. service members. I understand what Reverend Jackson is accused of doing, and I know that I haven't always agreed with his politics or some of his life choices even. But I have to respect the man. He went over to a foreign country, hostile territory, and negotiated the release of 3 U.S. service members, something that our own government wouldn't do. Our own governments. But he did it. He risked his life. He risked the lives of those who accompanied him over there. He did this. Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez, Staff Sergeant Christopher Stone, and Specialist Stephen Gonzalez. Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, negotiated their release. So you could say, also put in there that he was a patriot. And it goes to the argument that I've always made on here that we're the most patriotic people in this country. And this proves it right here. This proves it right here. So with that alone, and our own president, the Clinton administration, who occupied the White House in 1999, I remember I was in the military then. I was stationed in Panama. They didn't even negotiate or try to orchestrate their release. It was not authorized by the White House. Reverend Jackson and other religious leaders took it upon themselves to go over there and bring these soldiers back to the United States and back to their families. I have nothing but respect for this man for doing that. You know, Reverend Jackson was critical of the Bush administration, both George H.W. Bush and his son George W. Bush. He was critical of the Iraqi invasions in 1990 when we went to war in 91, and then when we went to war again in 03, and then when we invaded Afghanistan. He was critical of the Bush administrations, and I agree with him on that because we know why our men and women were sent over there to die. It wasn't for democracy. It was for hypocrisy. It was for money and oil. America is just so fixated with oil. Those administrations were just, they had a Jones for oil. They were jonesing, fiending for it. The oil had them fiending. That Jodeci song, Got Me Fiending, well, they were fiending for oil. Even now, a few years back, remember when Trump was in office the first time? We're going to go over there and take the oil. That's what Trump said. We're going to go over there, talking about Iraq, and take the oil. We're going to go over there and take the oil. Even now, the invasion of Venezuela, the chaos over in Nigeria, oil rich nations. Venezuela is the leading producer of oil in South America and one of the leading producers of oil in the Americas, right along with America, with the United States and Canada. Venezuela is right there. Nigeria is the fourth leading producer of oil in the world, I believe. Yeah, Venezuela is number. I mean, I'm sorry, Nigeria is number 4 in the world in oil production. One of the leading oil producing nations on the African continent, if not the most. We are so greedy, and it's coming back to bite us. And Reverend Jackson spoke out against that. So again, my condolences go out to his family, to his many, many cohorts. I thank you for the work that you did for our people, Reverend Jackson, during the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, into the 90s, and into the early part of this millennium, of the century. That's what, 50 plus years. So I thank you. Even until the early part of the century, the 2000s, he was still doing the work. So I thank you. I didn't always agree with his politics. The older I became, when I found out about the Democratic Party, about what they're aligned with and how they just trick and beguile black people and this and that, and the things that Reverend Jackson was agreeing to, or what was speaking on. I'm like, nah, I can't agree with you on this, Reverend Jackson. But I respect you, but I can't agree with you on this. But I thank you for doing the work. Thank you for what you did for the black community, the things that you did do. Because I think his good outweigh the bad. I feel that way. The good outweigh the bad. So while our late brother, and I was speaking to a brother of mine on this the other night, the late great Dr. Khalid Muhammad, while he was very critical of Reverend Jackson, he poked fun at him. He said he loved him and that he wants him to come back home. Even though he poked fun at him, he said, I love you and come back home. And I felt the same way. I loved him, but come back home. I can't get with you on this democratic agenda on LGBTQ rights, and we're not black, we're African American. No, we're black. And I'll go as far as to say this: we're not really American, because we don't have, if you look at the definition, we don't have the rights of an American. We don't. We definitely are not African. Now, if you want to look at someone who an example of an African American, I'll give you 3 examples. Elon Musk. He's from South Africa, and he has American citizenship. Thus, he's African American. Charlize Theron. She's from South Africa. She was born on the African continent. She has American citizenship. Therefore, she's African American. Trevor Noah. It's funny, all of them were born in South Africa. Born in South Africa. Has American citizenship. Therefore, he's African American. Anyone born on the African continent who has American citizenship, they're African American. So we don't have the rights of an American. And So that's why I stand with that. But again, I can't deny the good things that Reverend Jackson has done. It would be callous and dishonest to deny the good that this man did. And while some of us are not fans of him, that's fine and dandy. And like I always say on here, let's agree to disagree without being disagreeable, please. And while some of us again are not fans of Reverend Jackson, we can't deny that this man risked his life for something that he believed in. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood by him. The Nation of Islam stood by him. Reverend Jackson was a friend, a great friend, a dear great brother to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and to the Nation of Islam. He loved the Nation of Islam. He showed his love to us, and we showed our love to him. So with that, I have to respect Reverend Jackson. He showed love and respect to the nation. The nation showed love and respect to him. He loved our leader, and our leader loved him. He even loved and respected the messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So again, and I think in 85, I don't know if it was in 84 or 85, Reverend Jackson spoke at Savior's Day. So if the nation, and most importantly, our leader, our God, our teacher, our warner, was good with Reverend Jesse Jackson, then I'm good with him too. We don't always have to agree with our people's choices or their politics. We don't always have to agree with them, but we have to love and respect them, and we have to defend them against white supremacy. Good example of that of last week when Donald Trump had Michelle and Barack Obama as monkeys, as apes. I said on here then, the video I did last week, that I would not defend Trump against the Obamas, especially with a racist video like that. No, I will defend the former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama against Trump's attacks. I'm not a fan of the Obamas, don't agree with their politics, but I had to put that aside and go against white supremacy. Other communities do it all the time. And I mentioned that too. The Japanese don't like the Chinese. The Koreans don't like the Japanese. None of them like the Filipino community. But one thing they have in common, they're Asian first. They all from the continent of Asia. And they put Asian issues first and foremost. So if a Filipino person is having static with a black person and a Korean person see it or a Japanese person see it, they will come to their defense. I've witnessed it on a couple of occasions. They will come to their defense. If a Honduran person is having an issue with a black person and the Mexican person see it, they will defend the Honduran person or the Guatemalan or the Panamanian or the Cuban because they are Latino first. It's only us that won't come to our aid. We don't do it. We will throw our people under the bus in order to uphold white supremacy. Look at it. Look, you know, even in your own household, even in your own families, Oh, that nigga didn't vote for Kamala Harris. F that nigga. We don't even stick together for that. We can't put our politics aside, our differences aside. And it's sad. But with that being said, I think I made my point. I got my point across in this video. Hope that I did. Rest in peace, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thank you for your service to our community. Thank you for your life's work. May Allah be pleased with you, sir. And like I said, there were things that I greatly disagree with Reverend Jackson on, but that's neither here or there. And but I respect the work that he did. The fact that he was willing to risk his life to die for something that he believed in, and his family. I just respect this man because they attacked his family and him too. So, but how many of us can say that we would have done it? So there's that. But in any event, hit that thumbs up button, smash that thumbs up button on, hit that subscribe button so you get notifications of when I do videos on here. Drop your comments below. Let me know what you think. I know that there's some who are going to disagree with me on this, those who may have hated Reverend Jackson or wasn't a fan of him, whatever the case may be. That's your right. You know, that's fine. But all I ask, and like I said a couple of minutes ago, let's agree to disagree without being disagreeable. And in our disagreements, let's use logic, common sense, facts, and respect, not emotion and disrespect. That'll get you nowhere. So keep that in mind. Share this video, share it on your social media accounts. Let's have this conversation. Let's have the dialogue because this is a must. This is a civil rights pioneer who's gone, a man who did the work for decades, probably 60 years, 60 plus years. So let's pay our respects to him. We didn't always have to agree with him, but let's just pay our respects to him and his family and his many cohorts. Support my YouTube channel here and my different projects coming down the pike. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you for rocking with your brother, even when you disagree with me. Thank you for still tuning in and rock with me. That's greatly appreciated. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So please continue to show your love and support for me and my channel and my endeavors. It's greatly appreciated and it doesn't go unnoticed. I love y'all immensely. So please continue to support your brother. Brothers as well as sisters, y'all beware out here. Be safe out here. Beware and be aware. Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy now more than ever before. So if you're going to work, coming home from work, dropping your children off at school, picking them up, running errands, on vacation, which many of us, or are traveling, which many of us in the nation will be doing over the next day or two, going to Detroit for Savior's Day. Beware, 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 and be aware. Because this devil is not playing fair. Well, he's not supposed to, but he is amping up his attempts on our life. So just beware and be aware. General order number 2 for those of us in the nation. Y'all know what that means. So just be safe out here. That goes for me as well. I'm leaving for Detroit in the morning, first thing in the morning, after 5. So I'm gonna take heed to my own advice. So with that being said, I love y'all. Have a blessed, rest, wonderful day. I will talk to y'all sooner than later, inshallah. And have a great day. All right now. Take care. Love y'all. Assalamu alaikum.